Hi, Gary Stearman. Time for another update from Prophecy Watchers, and in studio with me today, one of my favorite people, author and lecturer Tom Horn. Actually, Tom, you're more than an author and lecturer, but I won't go into all that. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, well, thanks, Gary. It's always good to be on your set.
And the reason we're talking to Tom is to present a couple of books that he's just published. One is called Final Fire, and the other, Abaddon Descending. And they are absolutely amazing in two entirely different ways. Let's talk about the first one, Final Fire. In a way, this is it's a history book on the Great Awakenings. And in the past, in which the Spirit of the Lord moved among men and amazing things happened, missionary movements and thousands of people coming to Christ. And you ask the question rhetorically, is the next Great Awakening just around the corner?
Yeah, and so, my favorite part of this book, by the way, was actually written by Donna Howell. Her name is on there. Larry Spargimino also is a co-author. Because she was the one who went in and fleshed out all of the details about these previous Great Awakenings. And I had asked her, I said, find commonalities for me. What were the kind of things that in every one of these Great Awakenings you could find that this was happening culturally or socially? And one of them, of course, reminded me a lot of this last year here in the U.S. with the rise of Donald Trump. Also reminded me of the Jesus People movement, and that is anti-establishment, loss of faith in government as a provider, tended to be something that kind of was a precursor to an awakening, people turning back to God, right?
Yeah.
We shouldn't forget about God. I mean, we should never get to the point where we think the government can take the place of God, but when times are good and people are not worried and they pray less and.
Well, there's a lot of revolutionary activity today. There are a lot of street people out there setting fires, turning cars over, even shooting police. And the common thought is, oh my goodness, there's nothing good can come out of this. We're doomed. And yet you're offering a hopeful prospect here. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, and people can see that, right? Like in the Jesus People movement, they were anti-establishment. They thought of themselves as revolutionaries, marching on Washington, D.C. and complaining about the Vietnam War and all of that. And yet they were hungry for God. They thought Jesus was the coolest guy that had ever lived, right?
Sure.
Because they saw him as the ultimate anti-establishment guy, anti-organized religion, anti-government, whatever.
And there were a lot of movies and plays at that time and books about Jesus as a revolutionary.
Right, Jesus Christ Superstar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, some of that stuff that we thought borderlined on blasphemy, but yeah, and so now we're kind of seeing the same thing. The Brexit vote, people in Europe, they've lost faith in the European common market. They've lost faith in their system or in their government, and they vote to exit. Here in the United States, the most unlikely guy to become president just did, but largely because the average man, they've lost faith in their government. They didn't want another, establishment politician to become president, neither Republican or Democrat.
Well, they've seen so many men throw their hat in the ring, and then they just seemed rather half-hearted about it. They went away and said, "Oh, I guess I didn't win. Too bad.
Right.
I'll go back to my millions."
That's right. Yeah.
And this infuriated a lot of people.
Yeah, it did. So those are one of the conditions that we go into in the book in Final Fire, to just say we believe that we are in a time right now where symptoms within culture, within society, indicate that we could be moving towards another Great Awakening.
I love that idea. A revival, although an awakening is a bit more than a revival.
Yeah.
It's a moving of God's Spirit.
Yeah, an awakening is, we tend to think of an awakening as more kind of the population at large, people suddenly becoming aware of their need for God, right?
Yeah.
But this also happens in the church, which is what we tend to think of as revival, right? The church waking up once again. And certainly the church will play a role. I will say that I do not believe that this next Great Awakening will be led by any one individual. It's not going to be like some super well-known super preacher that comes out and says, "Follow me, boys." It'll be sovereign. It'll be organic, which is also indicative of former Great Awakenings.
Tom's other book, and we are going to be doing longer programs on each of these, and you'll really want to see those. But this book is called Abaddon Ascending. Abaddon, angel of destruction, or if you will, a super angel of destruction who's been locked beneath the earth, and he's yearning to get out back to the surface where he can be effective again. And you see him in Revelation 9. In fact, Tom and I were talking before we came on today. Guess where you find Abaddon? In Revelation 9:11,
Right.
9:11. What
Right.
are the odds?
Yeah, and actually, I had never noticed that. You brought it up. It was a wow moment, right?
It was.
911.
Yeah.
So maybe that's some of the rabbis like to talk about biblical numerology and its significance, you know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
All I know is that the book Abaddon Ascending is going to bring you to a new level of understanding about what the other side is doing. There are people out there that are trying to open that gate to get to the old dark evil forces, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little disconcerting when you think that where CERN built the Large Hadron Collider up there on the border, you know, the Swiss border against France, that they built it literally right over the top of an ancient temple to the god Apollo, who hath in his Hebrew tongue his name Abaddon.
Right.
Right. And that they're admitting, Sergio Bertolucci, you know, the director of science for CERN, saying we are going to open a doorway, and we may send something through it, or something may come back from the other side into our reality. Unknown unknowns, he calls it.
He said that.
Yeah, he did.
Wow, what a statement.
Yeah. And yeah, he was being interviewed by the press in Italy, and he admitted that that is part of what they're attempting to do. Now, you know, we don't think that everybody that's working at CERN is a Satanist, by the way, although they did have a parody of a human satanic sacrifice by CERN employees right in front of the god Shiva, you know, there in front of the main headquarters.
What's the god Shiva doing out in front of the CERN headquarters?
Yeah, well, all these gods are gods of destruction. You know, Apollyon, the god of destruction, right. Shiva, the god of destruction, destroying at the molecular level and then reassembling to create a better world, a new world order. Well, that's the prophecy right off of the Great Seal of the United States that also is directly connected to the second coming of Apollyon or Abaddon.
You know, as you're speaking about these things, I'm thinking in my head, science fiction. This sounds like a movie.
Yeah.
But it's happening.
It's happening, but it's also prophesied to happen. Revelation 9, which you mentioned a moment ago, says this is going to happen. A mighty angel descends down with a key to the bottomless pit and opens it up, and these insectoids come up out of the earth, torturing humanity, and it says, and they have a king over them, Abaddon, also Apollyon. Apollo, we're literally talking about this ancient Greek god, Apollo, which the Apostle Paul also identified as the spirit that will be incarnate within the Antichrist.
Absolutely. And so we're living in a world that it borders at all times on the supernatural. We tend, as we go to the grocery store, the gas station, the office, we tend to kind of push that all aside, and we're just living in quote-unquote normal life. But the time has come, and I think these are the end times, Tom. I think we would agree on that. The time has come that we really have to be conscious of what's going on.
Yeah, there's something strange right now going on in the world where you have, on the one hand, CERN saying we're going to open a doorway. You have the biblical prophecy, of course, about the second coming of Apollyon. But right now you also have rabbis in the Middle East talking about Donald Trump and saying that his name, the gematria of his name, means Messiah. And they are looking at him as maybe an indication that they're about to enter into the Messianic era. They're very much connecting him to the years 5773, which was 2012 to 2013, but also 5777, because they've got 100-year-old, 300-year-old predictions by some of their very well-respected rabbis saying that the Messiah will appear in the year 5777. Well, that was the election of Donald Trump, and now they're using this language around him. So there's some very strange things. I think people feel there is a change in the air. There's something, it isn't just natural, it's preternatural, it's supernatural, that seems to be unfolding now around the world.
I think people sensed a change after the day of the election. But, and again, I want to be really certain that you understand that we are not saying that
No.
Donald Trump is a messianic
No.
figure. We're saying that some people are viewing him in that context. And that, as a student of Bible prophecy, is of interest to me, and I know to Tom.
Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, and also the Jewish idea of the Messiah is different than ours. We get our model of the Messiah from Jesus Christ. We think of God incarnate, God in flesh, God born to a virgin. Their idea of the Messiah is a political figure.
Exactly.
The anointed one. That goes back to the ancient days when they would anoint a king, right? And he's a political figure. He's going to fight and win wars. That's what he does.
And by the way, when you really stop and think about it, when Jesus came the first time, the people were looking for a political figure.
Right. That's what they kept trying to make him a king, right?
That's right.
Go get the bad Romans and make them go away. Yeah.
So we have come to another juncture, another critical time in human history. And I think that's what your book, Abaddon Ascending, is really all about.
Yeah, it's actually taking a lot of parts and pieces. Why are rabbis calling for the building of the third temple and the reinstitution of the the rituals?
Yeah.
Why, how could a guy like Donald Trump have come from out of nowhere? And he certainly wasn't because he was articulate and masterful with words or anything else. People are looking for change. Change can be good. Change can be part of the Great Awakening. Change can also be scary because the Germans before World War II were looking for change, and their nationalism gave them Adolf Hitler. So we need to make sure that we keep our faith in God and not in a political figure.
Right.
But we do know that through Ronald Reagan, we know that when the Apostle Paul wrote to Timothy and said, pray for the kings and those who have the rule over you. Why? So that you'll have a peaceable environment so that you can more easily be preachers of the gospel and spread the gospel so that all the world can come to the saving knowledge of Christ.
The story just keeps repeating itself. You mentioned Hitler, and he was looking for the Superman.
Mm-hmm.
He was looking for that same power that people are looking for now, that dark force to come and elevate mankind to the next level. Whereas we are looking for the Son of God to return in the clouds and say, come up hither.
Right.
Two different things, right?
Absolutely right. And of course, in the broadcast television program that's coming, we'll get a little more into some of what was possible, some of the darkness that was there. Thank goodness right now it looks like the Lord has said, we're going to hold off on that. Not yet, or not so.
Pray for the final fire. That is the next Great Awakening. And by the way, both these books, Final Fire and Abaddon Ascending, are in our online bookstore right here at prophecywatchers.com. Just click on the online bookstore, scroll down, you'll find Tom Horn's name, and you'll find a lot of books there, including Final Fire and Abaddon Arising. Tom, it's always a pleasure to talk with you, and may the Lord bless you and yours.
All right, Gary, good to be here again.
I'm Gary Stearman. Hey, keep watching. We are. Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com, where you can sign up for our free email newsletter. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.